Boom! Another week, another episode of Stand Up Explained. Andrew still has his incredible mustache. Oh yeah, I'm Brandt Tobler,
Oh,
one of your hosts.
yeah, still got the mustache. I'm not shit. This is not a quarantine mustache, by the way, too. People have made that mistake. This was pre-plague, this
Yeah,
mustache. So,
you made a commitment in like
yeah.
November. I like it.
No, it was even better. It was like I made the commitment like after. I didn't grow it for that Movember thing either.
Oh yeah,
Because Brian said that to me. It was like, dude, you're the only dude who grew a mustache after November. So this isn't even for cancer or nothing. This is just for pure vanity.
well yeah, and we will. That'll be another episode called "Don't Do What Other Comedians Are Doing." But on this episode, we're going to deal with stage fright. Dealing with stage fright, which I think is going to be the most common thing of people, hopefully, that find our show, that are, I know I dealt with it. We can just start there. I had huge stage fright. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think like everybody has to have it. I mean, only like real psychopaths probably don't,
Yeah.
But like my first time, I remember I thought for some reason I thought I'd be I was even worse than it would have normally been, but I was super nervous. But then also I was at a coffee shop and I thought I'd be way funnier if I just drank. They had bottomless cups of coffee, just if it was just regular coffee. So I was like, man, if I just drink a bunch of coffee, I'll be all like fast talking, I'll be funnier. So I just pounded coffee, and then you have like the bubble guts, you're so nervous and everything, and then 12 cups of coffee. The whole thing was a disaster. I had to like shit like 17 times. It was really bad.
So yours was just a sign up. So you just signed up, and then did you chicken out before? No.
No, the first time I signed up, I went, but it was not a comedy open mic. It was bad because the crowd hated it and doesn't like comedy, but it was good in the anonymity of it. You know what I mean? Because it was like I went up and bombed, but nobody there would ever remember or know, or none of them were comedians. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was kind of nice in that way. To like, well, no one's gonna remember this, but I was super afraid, and probably the first 30-40 times I did it, very, very nervous to get
Mm-hmm.
on stage.
Well, yeah, I was the same way. I chickened out for a long time. So I grew up in Wyoming, and there was no stand up. I didn't really know anything about stand up. So I mean, I wish this podcast around back then. It would help me a lot. But I chickened out because I'd come up with an idea that I wanted to be a stand up comedian. So a couple times, like when I was staying at a hotel or something, there'd be a conference room, and I would talk into the microphone and kind of practice and goof around. But every time I talked into a microphone, for some reason, when I heard my voice echoed or whatever it would be called, what was that? Like when your voice is anyway. When I heard my voice
amplified.
Yeah, when I heard my voice amplified, thank you. It would make my eyes water, so I would start like crying. So
Get out of here, really?
Yeah, this is the truth. So I don't know what it was about hearing my voice amplified. So then I would talk into a microphone, then I would hear it. Even if I was joking around or something, my eyes would start to water. So I was like, oh my God, I can't be the crying comedian. So I was so scared, and I was just naturally scared to do it. I mean, it's intimidating. We've talked about on other episodes how intimidating open mics are for the first time when you really don't know anything and it's very cliquey. So I was scared. So I went and I watched a couple times, and then I signed up and I got scared, and I said my dad died. And then I canceled, said my dad died. So I couldn't do the open mic because I didn't realize
at
the time.
You needed to give an excuse?
Yeah, I didn't realize that the host didn't give a shit if I showed up or not. So I said,
that's so funny.
And then I was like, oh God, I can't do it. I'm too scared. So then I called like right before the show and left a message on his voicemail saying, hey, this is Brandt Tobler. I can't come. My father passed away, blah, blah, blah. And then I came, and no one cared. I don't even think like the host, if someone died in your life, even how random they are, you would be like, hey, sorry about your dad. When I showed up the next time, You didn't even say anything like, "Hey, man, sorry about your dad." It was like a
No,
month, you know.
but because there's no better moment in the world if you've ever hosted an open mic when you call somebody's name and they don't come up, you're like, oh, thank God, and then you
Yeah.
just move on. And that's the best feeling in the world. So no, nobody's disappointed if you're
So
if you
yeah.
cancel.
So then I came back after like a month or two. What I thought it would give enough time for me to grieve over my dad dying. What I thought was the appropriate time. And then I came back and then I signed up again. And then I chickened out again. I forget. I gave another excuse, like I missed a plane or something. I was out of town again, thinking that the host cared.
My other dad died.
So then, yeah, my stepdad died. So then on the third time, I invited like 12 of my friends, and then I had a couple drinks, and then that was the key. I invited so many people that I couldn't back out because they were all there to see me, and then I definitely had a couple drinks to calm the nerves. But I was I was scared. Like you said, I don't think anybody's not scared.
You know what's so funny? Yeah, you're scared, and then like so. I think I was talking about this with my wife earlier, and she did stand up for a while, and she said for her it never went away. She did it for years, and then still was nervous, as nervous as maybe the first time, every single time. And there's
Really?
comics like that. There's comics you'll talk to who like, yeah, it just never goes away, and you just have to beat it. You just have to fight it, and then get on stage, and then the adrenaline takes over,
Well,
and you're fine. But
my buddy Matt Markman, who I started with in Vegas, he would throw up. So sometimes he'd be like, "Oh man, I'm up next. I'll be right back," and then he would run and he would puke for a long time, man. I mean, I
yeah,
remember one time we went to San Diego to do a military show, and it's all macho men and shit. You don't want to. And he was like so nervous that he was gonna have to puke. But the bigger the show, the more he would puke.
well, I can relate to that a little bit because and then it's not even that you're nervous. At some point, your body just like it's like Pavlov's dogs or whatever. So you just like your body knows you're going to go on stage and then it has that reaction. Like I have that way with like shitting, honestly. Like
Mm-hmm.
I have like every time I'm about to go on stage, I got to take a dump and you're like, oh, that's because you're nervous. Honestly, I don't feel, I swear to God, I'm not. And there's nothing that makes me less nervous anymore than doing stand up. I'm not nervous, but there's just some like deep psychological thing because I think maybe from that first time I drank all that coffee. I don't know, but now if I'm about to go on stage, I got to take a dump. So I used to joke with all my friends like I've taken a shit in every single place I've ever done stand up in.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter what the venue, I've probably taken a dump there.
You know what? I was like that for a long time. I think I have a gluten allergy that I've started to figure out, but I was the same way. I'd always have to shit before the show, but I wasn't nervous. But then I was like, sometimes, so I got so used to taking a dump right before the show, but then sometimes you don't know when you're going to go up on a show or not. And then I was scared. I've been living in fear that I'd go up and I'd shit my pants on stage. But then I think your body, once you're up there, the adrenaline will, I've never had to go to the bathroom when I'm on stage. I don't know. Have you ever had that?
Oh yeah, I've had that. And that might be
Oh,
a
really?
different show, but yeah. Well, I had it where, so like this, I guess we can talk about it, but like,
Yeah.
I was late. I was doing the Tacoma Comedy Club and I was driving there. I got like a last minute fallout thing or something. And then I was late. I had to go to the bathroom the whole time I was driving. And the guy was the show had started and I was texting as I'm like parking, like, no, I'll be there. Just go up and just, you can, when you see me, you can bring me up, so but I figure I got like at least 10 minutes. I can go in there, take a shit, and then go on stage. And I'm like, it's like so bad. It's like I'm cramping up. It's so bad. And I park, I walk in. I was like, okay, I see the host on stage. Like, okay, I'm going to make it. As I'm walking to the bathroom, dude sees me. He's like, oh, thank God he's here. All right, everybody, give it up. And there was nothing I could do. And in hindsight, what I should have done is just said, it would have been funny. It's like, hey man, you got to do one more bit because I got to go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? It would have gotten a laugh. It would have been fine. But of course, in my head, I was like, oh, I got to go on. So I went on and it was like, not good.
Yeah. So So how long what would you say, 30, 40, those, you were always nervous?
Yeah, I lost it. I mean, like, yeah, I was definitely nervous those first, I guess it would be 30, 40 times. And then for me, it's gone away. But like I said, for some people, it doesn't. Like my wife, she said that. And, there's actually this comic, we were just talking about him before we started recording, but this guy, Richard Bain, who unfortunately just died. It's so sad. But he was that, like, my wife actually went up to him one time. He was the funniest guy. And she went up to him and she was like, because he was so fearless on stage, and she said, she's like, oh, I wish I was like you. It's like, you're so strong and you're so fearless. You'll do these crazy things. You'll take these huge. He did an hour-long set one time, and he got out on stage. The first thing he did was eat a whole banana, just housed it, and then threw the peel on the ground. And then 45 minutes into his set, he slipped on the banana peel and fell down, and he had a fake blood capsule, and he chomped down on the fake blood. So he had blood all coming out of his mouth, and he thanked everyone for coming while he was like blood dripping. So that's how fearless he was. But then my wife talked to him about, and he said the same thing. He's like, no, I get the same thing. It's like, I'm so nervous before every show. I get like extremely nervous. So just because you get nervous doesn't mean you can't like overcome it, and not even overcome it and do stand up, but like do the craziest, biggest choices, huge chances. The nerves shouldn't stop you, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. No. Now, I no longer get nervous. I mean, I can, some comics can't eat before a show. I can eat, a whole spread, no problem. It doesn't bother me at all. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's just something you'll go through. Like, I remember my hands would get very sweaty, and I've seen, so a lot of times I get to host a show here in Denver where a comic gets to go up for their first time, and I always try to talk them through it and just say, you're fine. And honestly, once you get out there, it's kind of like fight or flight or whatever. I think it just kicks in. For me, I know my first time, I remember being so scared, and then once I did it, the adrenaline rush after of doing it was like, it was incredible.
I would say the thing that kills the nerves more than anything is that first laugh.
Yeah.
You get on every big show I've ever had, I'm so nervous, and that doesn't go away. Backstage, you're nervous, but that doesn't really go away. Even on stage, you're nervous. But once you get that big laugh, then it kind of, then everything eases,
Yeah. So, and I mentioned that I had a couple drinks to go up my first time. I'm not saying, I would just say be careful with that, because I've also seen people get too drunk and then it's just like, you don't want to do that. Or even like Andrew said, you don't want to drink a bunch of coffee. You don't want to, I don't think
you don't want to be shitting before your show for the rest of your life because you drank a bunch of coffee. No, but here's the analogy I like to use, because I really think it's true. Like, me and you are kind of different in a way. Like, you're more of an extrovert than I am. You're like at a big party or something, you would do a little better than I might hang back a little bit. You might be willing to go up and say hi to more people, right? I am if I go to a party, I'm very shy. I go to the party if I don't know anybody. If I'm with all my good friends who I've known for years, I'll talk a lot. I'll joke a lot. I'm not shy, right? But if I'm with new people, I'm very, very quiet. And so I think comedy, you got to think of the stage as like a person. The stage is like a friend. And if your first time, you're probably going to be like me, where you're not yourself, you're very nervous, you're very shy with that stage. But for me, what's happened is over 15 years, now I know that stage like one of my best friends, and it doesn't matter who's in the audience. Audience doesn't matter. The crowd means nothing. It's the stage that I'm comfortable with. And so now I go up, I'm not nervous. Oh, it's the stage. I know the stage, and I can be myself. And that's really what you want. The reason why you want to get rid of nerves is to be yourself as much as possible, because that's when you're going to be your funniest,
Yeah. Yeah. The good thing is the nerves one day will turn to anxious. For me, it's just anxious. It's an excitement of, I'm not nervous anymore. I'm excited to, it's like, when am I up? Okay, here we go. Instead of being like, in the beginning, I was like, oh God, here we go. Like I'm jumping in the deep end or something. Now it's like, I love swimming more than anything in the world. Here we go. Let me jump in. So that's what you have to look forward to. It'll go away over time just doing it. And the thing I would say, what made me get rid of this part of the stage fright was just being prepared. The more prepared I was, the more I've gone over the jokes, practiced the jokes, the more I was ready, the less stage fright I had. So I think if you're having a hard time with stage fright, first of all, don't we all had it. Don't let anybody tell you, like Andrew said, you'd have to be a psychopath to not be scared of this thing. This thing
Right.
is scary at first, but I think the more you're prepared, especially in the beginning, the better off you'll be because you'll be okay.
That's a great point I hadn't really thought about before, but you're right. And it goes back to, we kind of talked about this before, but like the more you write, the less you're going to want to chicken out because you've done all this work now. If you just like have a hair up your ass one day, you're driving by an open mic and you sign up because like, oh, I'm funny, I'm going to try this. It'd be very easy to just like not show up that night or just bail because you go, well, but if you put a ton of time and thought, effort and writing and you've really, like you said, prepared, you've done the work, you're going to really hold yourself to doing it, because you've put the sweat equity in.
Yeah, and you're going to do good. I mean, well, you're going to do better than if you don't prepare. I mean, I can't promise you're going to do good, but you'll feel better in that moment. The stage fright, I think, will go away. At least for me, it did. Is like because then those first times I didn't really enjoy it until my set was over. I had prepared so much that I was like, okay, we do this. I was like a machine out of fear. I was like, we do this, we're done. So up in the moment, I didn't enjoy. I wasn't in the moment of being on stage. I was just doing what I had prepared, and then then when I got off, I was like, and I'll say this: the fear before is rough, but the adrenaline of doing it. I mean, that's what people always ask me. When did you know you want to be a stand-up? It was the second I came off stage that first time, and that'll sound like cheesy or bullshit or whatever, but that's the truth. Because I grew up in Wyoming, and a lot of comics will be like, I knew I wanted to be a comic since 6 years old. We didn't have stand-up comedy in Wyoming. But the second I knew is when I came off that first time, that feeling is like, I was like, oh, I mean, I can't even describe it to you. It gives me
Yeah.
chills thinking about it that first time. Like, and I did it. It was another thing. For all the scared, and I accomplished something I was terrified of. So as scared as you are, it's you just got to do it. I promise you, it'll be worth it.
That's why my wife Heidi, though, why she started stand up, because her whole thing, she wanted to do things that scared her. That
Mm-hmm.
was like one of the things that really scared her, so she did it. But I think everything you're saying there is true. The rush, I used to listen, because everyone should record their sets. That's like basic stand-up stuff, and I would listen to it back after. I remember when I first started, on my drive home, I had a little recorder and I would listen to it on the drive home, but I wasn't really even listening to like correct anything. But I would just listen to I would just listen to myself getting laughs, like, oh my god, that's me on set. And it was the coolest feeling. But I cheated in a way because, like you said, you had 15 people there to see you, and
Yeah.
so there's like stakes. You really want to do good because these are your friends. And I was so embarrassed about, there's something about it. It was like, I was really embarrassed about the idea, like, who do you think you are? You think you're going to be a comedian? You think you're funny enough? It was just embarrassing to me. So I didn't tell anybody. And I don't mean for like the first few times, I didn't tell anybody for like a year and a half that I was doing stand-up. I just went out secretly and nobody knew. And there was something, it made me less nervous about about the anonymity of that, because I didn't have to like call myself a comedian to anybody outside the actual other people doing it. And it helped me a lot. But I think what I would tell everybody else is like, you don't have to be embarrassed to try, because that might be part of the shame or part of the nervousness, is you're like, oh, I can't be a comedian. Why can I be a comedian? It's like everybody you like, everybody you admire had to do the embarrassing thing of doing it the first time. It's very embarrassing. The first thing, I mean, it's humiliating. The idea that, oh, I'm so funny, I'm just going to go walk up there and make them laugh when I've never done that before. that's psychopathic, you know. But everybody you like, every famous comic that you've ever heard of had a first time they had to do that, and it was very embarrassing for them. So that might make you feel a little better if you think about it that way.
Well, another thing is, so I chickened out. So there was a little more to my chicken out story that it went over like 2 years. Like I had thought about doing it in Phoenix, and then I didn't actually start chicking out till I moved in Vegas. But the thing that you'll hear us constantly say on here is you need to write as much as you can and get on stage as much as you can. And me wasting those 2 years of repetition and stuff, I mean, to get those back, I would have, who knows, my life, I would just be a much better comedian just by those repetitions. So if the stage fright is just taking you away from chances to get on stage, which is the only way to get better. If you really think, people always, I say you should do it as soon as you can, man. Just get on. The biggest mistake I made was having that fright, that stage fright. For 2 years, I read the books. I did everything. I watched all the specials. I read the books. I did what the books told me to do, but I chickened out when it was time for that moment. And in hindsight, man, I wasted 2 years that I could have been getting better on it and speeding up this long journey of just, I mean, that's 300 more times on stage. I can't tell you what,
right.
It's my only regret I have.
And it's never too late. It's never too late to start, but no one's ever said, man, I regret starting as early as I did.
Yeah.
Like Chappelle started when he was like 14 or whatever. And he's not like, oh, I think that was too young. So if that's not too young, then you know what I mean? Just start and don't, and like it is good to prepare. It is good to write and all that stuff. But like, you're never going to write away the stage fright like that. You're still going to have a first time. So you got to rip it off like a Band-Aid, And
now with all this technology, I'd make sure you record it just for, if anything, just to have. I have my first time, and it's something that I have it in a camera. I'm trying to figure out, I'm so old that I have a camera. Hold on, I'll grab it real quick. I have it right here.
Yeah, I mean, I recorded all those, and I have no idea where they are. I'm the worst with that kind of stuff, so I wish I had it.
So my first time is right here in this old ass camera, and I'm trying to get it. So it's got one of those mini discs. So I've ordered like chargers off of eBay and whatever to try to get it open so I could get it out and then convert it into a DVD. So I have it. It's in here. I just haven't been able, because the pandemic and stuff, been able to get it out. I didn't know where this was forever, but I can't wait to see it. And so I would say that if you're gonna do it, I think I'm so glad I have it. And that's another way to, if you bring somebody to film, or you plan on filming it, that's another. Some of you are going to be like me. You're going to need a little. I mean, I think Andrew's crazy. It blows my mind that he just did that by himself for that long. I mean, we've been friends for like 10 years, and I'll still be like, if we weren't recording this podcast, I would still ask him like, wait, how did you not tell people? Or it's
I know,
crazy.
But I honestly, it wasn't like any sort of like, I didn't do it to increase my level of difficulty. That was just, for me, was the way to cope.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I was kind of like, I didn't want to tell people. It's like when you have comics talk about this all the time, but when you're in like an Uber or something, you don't want to tell the Uber driver you're a comic, because then there's going to be 50 questions. It's why we're doing this podcast, actually, so we can just tell the Uber driver, watch these Stand Up Explain, so we don't have to talk about it. But like, it was the same thing where I didn't want my friends going, oh, really? Oh, you're a comedian? Oh, okay, Mr. Funny Guy, And I was funny with my friends. They didn't think I was funny, but there was just kind of like an arrogance to it that I had deep down. I had the arrogance, but I didn't want to tell people I had that arrogance. I didn't mesh with my personality.
Yeah. Well, and here's just another thing. If you're getting into stand-up, you're probably a huge fan of stand-up comedy, and if you get to meet your heroes and you get to talk to them, you'll want to have done comedy. Like after a show, if someone comes up to me and they're like, hey man, good show, I'm always like, thank you, I appreciate it. But if they go, hey man, I'm a comic, good show, I'll go, hey, cool, hold on, wait over here for a second, and then we can talk comedy. But I've had so many people be like, hey, I should do this. I was like, I can't talk to you we can't talk about comedy till you've done comedy.
Right.
So to be in what we consider the coolest fraternity, sorority, whatever we are as comics, to get in that group, it's crazy. I think it's the coolest group in the world to be in, and it's the easiest group in the world to get in. You just have to
Yeah.
go to an open mic and do it. But if you go do it and you see one of us, you instantly, because we, even if you've done it that first time, we can talk about, oh shit, you were scared. I was scared. I had 15 people. I was scared I'd cry on the mic, and you could be like, I was scared. I tripped over the cord and then I knocked out. It's like,
Yeah.
there's something so cool, but you just I've met so many people that were gonna do it, and I get it. I was scared too, but if you're watching this and you're thinking, I gotta do it, but I'm scared. You just go fucking do it. I promise you'll never be like, man, they steered me wrong. You're gonna be like, you're gonna end up giving this same advice, one day.
For sure. And I think so, like, just, I don't know if I'm hoping that like this stuff is helping with like the practical stage fright problems. Like if you're saying, okay, but what do I do? Like it's paralyzing. Like I can't make myself go on stage. Like I don't know. The drink, like you said, having a couple drinks probably
Yeah.
doesn't hurt, for your first time, if that helps. I think like for me, it helps just being anonymous, like not even telling anybody, just showing up and just knowing, because you know what else is helpful about that is that that in the back of your mind, if this goes horribly, you could just leave and never come back, and nobody will ever have known that you were there. Nobody would ever know that you tried. No one will remember you, And the first few times I went to the comedy club where I started, they didn't remember me, so I really could have. It took like 6 or 7 times for them to even remember me, so I always
Yeah,
had that out. And then but then the other way, if that's not your personality, and then it's like, I'm really afraid, I think I'm gonna back, if I show up I back out. One way to guarantee you won't back out is to bring, like Brandt did, 15 people, because you're gonna do it. If those people are there, you're gonna do it. Like they'll never let you back out at that point. So if you think you might back out, then that might be a way to do it.
I think that's great. You have two different strategies, whatever fits your personality. But and we've talked about it on here.
Yeah, real quick. But by the way, the club owner likes Brandt's strategy better than
yeah. Yeah, if you
the club owner likes the strategy where you buy drinks and bring your friends.
Yeah, Andrew's strategy of hiding in the back, no one knows if he's there or not, and my strategy of bringing a bunch of people to spend money. Yeah, if you want to further your career, you could start with Andrew's, but try to get to mine. The sooner you can get to my strategy, the more the shows will like you. But yeah, I think it's two totally different strategies, but both get us to the finish line, which is, getting past that first one. The second time's much easier, don't you think?
Yeah.
It's not.
I think for me at least, I will say that every time I did it, it was a little easier. And then now the only thing I ever really get nervous for are like really big shows. There has to be real stakes, like TV or some sort of, I don't know, some sort of not competition, but.
Well, speaking of that, like when you did Conan and stuff, do you have anything that you do before a big show to try to help you calm down the nerves?
Not really. No, I try to just, besides pooping, I try to just be as, like, again, I've been talking about her a lot on this one, but my wife, she's big on, like, she always tells me, like, jump around or shake it out, like move, like release that energy. But I always kind of had this sort of comic thing where it's like, whatever, I'm not going to do all that. I'm just standing here for 1 second. I go out there the next, because I always like had this image of like Seinfeld or whatever outside in New York or whatever, and just walking on stage, doing it, walking off, going right back into the conversation,
Yeah.
That's kind of the image I always liked. So I really don't have any like tricks, but I was that I was very nervous for. And again, you just walk out there and then you look to your right and it's Conan and Andy Richter and everybody, and you're like, Jesus Christ. And they don't talk to you before, so it's like the first time you're seeing them is when you walk out on stage, and then you look at the audience and you go. And then I would say it wasn't until I get my first laugh that I really relax, and then it was just like doing a set. But
Well, that's funny. That just brought back memories because I was, of course, with you the first time you did Conan, and I think we were all so much more nervous. I think that if you asked me the last time I was nervous at a show, we knew you were going to do great, but I just remember I was with your wife and our manager and a couple of our friends, and I remember standing side stage, and you didn't look nervous at all. You handled it, but I remember we were all just like, "Oh, this is so crazy."
yeah,
And then
I was hiding it, but it helped having that actually really helped having a bunch of people, because I brought I remember you and who else, Jackie and Ryan and
we
Heidi.
had a crew like you were a real
And that
celebrity.
helped because you're busy and you're talking to people, but then once everybody left and you're standing there by yourself, and it was just these two like crew guys whose whole job in life is pulling this curtain open and closed. Those are the only people I'm standing behind the curtain with. That's when I was like, oh shit,
Yeah, but luckily it's fast, because then that just made me think of when I shot my Comedy Central thing. And you were there, and our manager again, and they told me to be there at 5:30, and then I got there at 5:30. We did wardrobe, makeup, and all this, and then they said you're going to shoot around like 10:30. Well, these guys, it was still a celebration. It was a big day for me, so they went over and had a couple drinks, and then I just sat there overthinking and getting nervous. Then I said, fuck it, I'm going to go have a couple drinks. And I guess it kind of took me back to my open mic. And then I had a couple drinks and I calmed down a little bit. But then in that moment, because I shot mine in a strip club, it was a lot different than what you're used to as a stand-up comedian. So I remember the same nerves, and my hands were sweaty, and those lights are bright. But what you said was the truth. Once you get up there, you get that first laugh. Then I felt right at home. But and
then you just want to go as long as you. Then it's like you just don't want it to end, because then it's like any other show. It's just you have them.
Yeah. So you just got to trust us on this. Just get up there, get that first laugh, and it might take a few minutes because it's your first time. But I would advise, be as prepared as you can. And like I said, everyone's different. You can go Andrew's way, you can go my way, you can go your own way, whatever you think's best. And I know for some of you it's deathly paralyzing and all that, but we can't even put into words what you'll feel after you do that first time. I'd be shocked if you got in the comments here and was like, you fucking assholes, that was the worst thing I've ever did in my entire life. Which if it happens, you can, but I think you're going to agree with this afterwards of like, I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah. Yep. And, yeah, I mean, I would say that it's worth it. It is hard, and it might not go away. Like if you don't complain either, like, oh, I've been doing this, 10 times and I'm still as nervous as the first time. Well, that could just be who you are. But one, that means you care. If you're still nervous late into your career, it's kind of a good thing, because it's like, it means you care about every show. And then two, just remember, like again, this guy, Richard Bain, you can look him up. He took the biggest risks and the biggest chances. He was so funny, huge swings every time. And he was nervous before every show. So he didn't, you can be nervous and still do anything you want to do. It's just something you kind of got to learn to live with.
Yeah. Yeah. There's going to be nerves, but nothing like that first time. Just that first time, we don't even know.
No. Yeah, not like that.
That's why you just got to do that first time, and then you'll at least have that under your belt and go, okay, at least I know how to pull the microphone out, or I know what my voice sounds amplified. I'm not going to cry, or where to walk off stage, where the light come from. So many little things that we really haven't even got into on the show yet about, which we probably should just do the shit that's so obvious to us. I guess that first time is so scary, but and then. Yeah. And the last thing, or one of the last things we'll say is, no matter what happens, you're going to be fine. So if you just use logic, yeah. If you do great, if you do shitty, it's going to be this. Your life is not going to change at all. You're either
way, one day we're all going to die.
Yeah. So don't.
Why overthink it?
So yeah, why overthink it, and just go have fun. It's what everyone will tell you. Just have fun, but. That first time will be scary, but I promise it'll get fun. Just get that first one out of the way. So, we good on this one, Andrew?
I think we're good. Don't be
Okay.
nervous.
Well, we love you guys. Thanks for watching or listening. If you're watching, please subscribe. We'll be putting out new episodes every week. If you have any questions for us, just drop them in the comments, or you can reach out to either of us. We're easy to find on social media. If you guys are listening to this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. And again, if you guys have something you want us to discuss, if you have a question, drop it in the comments or reach out to us, and we'll cover it. And hopefully we'll do shows with you guys one day. So get your asses on stage that first time if you're scared. That's it for this time. I'm Brandt Tobler.
I'm Andrew Slater.
See you next week.
See ya.